Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? Season 4, episode 11, the last episode, and man, what an episode it was. It definitely was worthy of being the last episode of the season because, to be honest, I didn't expect the last episode to be that good. I didn't expect it to be bad either, but I just expected it to wrap a couple of things up and that is it. I expected an episode like that where not too much happened, but at the same time where some things got wrapped up, and that is how the season ended. But man, was I wrong, because this episode was even greater than I expected it to be. It was perfect. It was a 10 out of 10 for me. It is definitely, if not the best season ending episode of Danmachi, then one of the better ones. I actually think it's probably the better one because it set up so many things to happen for the future. A lot of action happening in the episode, a lot of character interactions, a lot of things, to be honest. We thought that the Juggernaut, that Bell and Ryu fighting the Juggernaut was already bad enough. Then you have the Lantern appear again, and then you have the boss floor appear for the first time, because it is not supposed to appear at this place in time in the dungeon, but no, it did appear. The Monster Rex, something like that I think it's called, of the 27th floor, well, it also appears. So yeah, we have three big enemies, if you can call it like that, in this episode. Three big monsters. The Lantern, which I think it died when it fell into the 37th floor. We also have the Juggernaut, of course, and we have also the Monster Rex, the floor boss. So yeah, that alone already makes the episode really hyped. And I wonder how, everybody else, Aisha, Cassandra, and the party will handle the Monster Rex, because I think it was explained in last episode that it is not supposed to be as strong as the Juggernaut, or maybe it is, I don't know, in the same place of strength or somewhat close. But yeah, I wonder how they are going to handle it, because it does seem pretty strong with just the appearance it made in this episode. So going on in the future, I wonder if they are going to stand a chance against it, because it did seem pretty scary, to be honest. So yeah, pretty scary and pretty strong, to be honest. So yeah, that is something that will definitely be something very hype for the future. And of course, the episode starts with Bale, laying down on the floor because he's almost dead. I was speculating in the last episode if he was dead or not. I think I said that I didn't think he was dead because he is the main protagonist after all. And of course, that is what it is the case, because he wasn't dead. He was unconscious, he was still breathing, he still had some pulse. And Ryu was trying to heal him, but she couldn't do much, because I think, or I guess, the wounds, the injuries that he had were more than just something you can heal with a healing spell. So yeah, because of this, when the Juggernaut was attacking Ryu and the other people that were there, well, Bale fell into the river or into the water, whatever you want to call it. And I also speculated in the last episode that I thought that Mari was going to save him, that she was going to heal him, because after all, I think it was in the last episode, she said that she was going to go to Bale, and that only meant one thing for me, that she was going to heal him. And of course, that is exactly what happened in this episode, because she went there where Bale was, in the river, in the water, and of course she made herself bleed. She cut herself so Bale could heal himself. I was also speculating if the healing that Mari was going to do was going to be enough for a broken limb, or I should say a cut off limb, to heal itself back up. But yeah, apparently it was actually enough for it to heal back up. Or I shouldn't say heal back up, but I should say to sort of connect it again, because that is what exactly happened in this episode, that the arm was connected again. So yeah, the mermaid's healing ability, it is actually enough for broken limbs, cut off limbs, and the deep injuries that Bale had in this episode, for them to get healed by the mermaid. So yeah, the Blood's mermaid is actually that powerful. It was said in the last episodes, I think it was at the middle of the season or something like that, when Mari was first introduced, that yeah, the mermaids had really powerful healing abilities. So of course we finally see them take place here. We sort of seen them in the past when Bale was fighting, the flying bird that was very speedy. She healed him, but not to the extent that she did in this episode. So yeah, and yeah, that is why Bale was able to get up again in this episode and fight. And he actually stood his ground better than the first time he fought the Juggernaut, because the first time, it wasn't like he was taken out instantly, but it was almost like that, if we're being honest, because he didn't really hit him that much, and he basically got knocked out very fast. So in this second time, the second time that he had the chance to fight it again, he fared pretty well, to be honest. I mean, he almost beat it because he used the firebolt deflection that the monster has, you know, this sort of ability where if you use any sort of spell, any sort of magic, well, the monster will just turn it against you. So yeah, he used that into his favor, because we know that the dagger, that the sword that he has, that the goddess gave him, can absorb abilities, or I should say can absorb magic, can absorb spells, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, knowing that, he used the deflection that the monster did and absorbed it into his dagger, into his sword, and used it against the monster. It almost beat it because the monster was very hurt, was almost knocked out, to be honest. And the Yura guy thought that he was going to step in and basically take the monster for himself, you know, able to control the monster for himself. But of course, we know that that was not going to be the case. Not because of the things that happened in this episode, but because, I mean, other things that happened before this. We knew that this monster was very powerful. That was something special that was almost birthed by the dungeon itself. So I didn't think, and I don't think you guys thought, that Yura was going to be able to control this monster that easily or even at all. So yeah, that is exactly what was shown in this episode, because he simply got killed by it. I mean, everybody saw this coming, to be honest. This guy was so out of his mind, was so delusional that he thought he could control the Juggernaut, but I mean, he got instantly killed. But definitely the best thing, the most hype thing, the better thing, in my opinion, that we saw in the episode, in this final episode, was the appearance of the Lantern. Not so much the appearance of the Lantern itself, but what happened because of it. We know that the Lantern is a sort of enemy, is a sort of boss, mini boss, however you want to call it, monster that can travel throughout floors. And we actually saw this in this episode, because the thing that it did is that it basically saw a lot of Ryu and Bell and basically took them to a lower floor, and now they are in the deep floors, because it was explained briefly to Bell in a brief cutscenes or flashback, I guess you could call it like that, that when you are in the deep floor, specifically in the 37th floor, you see basically that the walls around you are sort of snowy white. And Bell realizes this because he sort of doesn't recognize that place that he's in. He looks around, it looks kind of dark, but at the same time the walls are kind of white. And then he immediately comes to the realization that he's actually not in the 27th floor. He's actually now in the deep floor. He's now in the White Palace, as it is called. And it was explaining to him that apparently in the White Palace, you know, in the deep floor, in the 37th floor, not even first rank adventurers, first rated adventurers can survive down there. They get taken down easily. And it is explaining to him that if he somehow ended up basically down there, that he had no chance of surviving. And of course, as we saw in the end of the episode, he actually does end down there. So yeah, let's see if in the future if there is another season, which I don't know if there is going to be, because I'm recording this review exactly after the episode came out. I mean, I basically finished the episode and did the review, so I don't know if that is going to be the case. It will seem to be that way, because I mean, how the season ended, this fourth season made it seem like there is something more to come. So yeah, I don't know if it's already announced or if it will be announced, but I think that is actually going to be the case sooner rather than later, because again, how the episode ended made it seem that there was still more to come. I mean, this doesn't seem like an ending episode of an anime, of a whole anime. It is more of an ending episode for a season. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if sooner rather than later we get announced another season or a movie or something like that. So yeah, that is very hype. I mean, that is the most hype I think thing that we saw in this episode. The fact that now Ryu and Bell are in the deep floors, and maybe if there is another season or a movie, it will only focus on them two trying to survive the deep floors, meeting new monsters, maybe going up or down. But yeah, if there is another season or movie, I think it will focus only on that, only on Bell and Ryu basically trying to survive the deep floors. Let's remind ourselves that they are both upper level 4 adventurers, so even though they are very high compared to other adventures, that is still not enough for that deep floor. That is still not enough for the 37 floors. So maybe if we get another season or movie of them to venturing out and trying to survive the deep floors, I guess if they ever come out of it, they are going to be very strong, probably level 5 or level 6, because they will have to do some sort of shenanigans to survive the deep floors, because again, it was explained to Bell that surviving the deep floors, the White Palace, is something that not many people can do. I mean, first rank adventurers get killed basically instantly down there. They don't survive very long. So of course Bell and Ryu are actually very weak down there. Of course they were hanging in there in the 27th floor, and I guess you can almost say that they were sort of match to match with the 27th floor, because the monsters that appeared there were almost to their strength, to their capabilities. But now that they're in the 37th floors, now that they're in the White Palace, in that deep floor, that is not the case. I mean, they can easily be killed by a random monster that appears in the deep floor. So with all that being taken into account, if there is another season or movie or whatever else comes out, man, it is going to be a pretty interesting and pretty hype thing to see, because seeing Bell and Ryu surviving in the deep floor is definitely something that everybody wants to see. I don't know if the other ones, Cassandra, well, Aisha, will go down there to rescue them. I don't think that will be the case, because they have to face the Monster Rex, the boss floor, so I don't think they will have the time to do that. Maybe they will send help from the surface. I don't know, maybe Uranus or somebody else will send actually help for, not only for Cassandra, well, and them, but also for Ryu and Bell. That is, of course, if Uranus and somebody else knows that they're actually now in the 37th floor. But if they don't send any help from the surface, then Ryu and Bell will actually have to tough it out in the deep floor, will actually have to survive. I mean, at least if they come out of it alive, they will actually become very strong, because I mean, the difference in their current upper level force and the difference you need to have to be in the deep floors in the White Palace, I think is so big that yeah, they definitely will level up if they come out of it alive. That is something definitely that we'll have to see. But yeah, that is basically everything that happened in the episode. A very good episode, definitely the better one of the whole season. There were episodes here and there that were really good, but definitely this last episode was actually really good, pretty hyped up, and definitely worthy of being the last episode of the season. So yeah, I don't know what you guys thought of the episode, but for me it was a very good episode, a perfect episode, a 10 out of 10. Not only because of the things, of the action, of the development that happened in the episode, but also because of the things that it promised to give us in the future. So yeah, because of all of those things, I think it is a perfect episode, a perfect ending episode. So yeah, I don't know if I forgot something very important that happened in the episode. Again, I made this episode review straightly after watching the episode, so forgive me if I forgot something, but yeah, that is my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and that will be everything for me.